Alright, I'm sorry I interrupted that. I will still post that video, but I thought I had a phone call, but I don't have reception here, so I don't know why I thought, the phone was ringing, but I knew I wouldn't be able to answer. Anyway, the reason I made this video yesterday, as I was describing the previous video, is every week the Calvary Rebbe from Williamsburg, big tzaddik, he's my Rebbe. And he has, unfortunately, has Lou Gehrig's disease. We have to daven for Shlema, or Moshe ben Rezel. And the Rebbe, every day, almost every day, with just the one eye, he's writing Torah teachings in Hebrew, and once a week he picks one that he wants to be translated and sent. It's sent in English to about 20,000 people, and in other languages as well. He gets his teachings translated, and it's quite incredible because here he's a person. His body doesn't work, but his mind is very, very, very clear, and how aware he is of what's going on in the world is really amazing. And so he's, something like the late Stephen Hawking type of, and he's really made a big impact even before his illness. Long before his illness, he used to travel all over the world. He's independently wealthy, so he used his wealth to go around and spread God's word. The most Rebbes, if they're traveling, it's for fundraising. He never had to travel for fundraising, so the other ones who don't need to travel for fundraising usually don't travel so much. But he's one who or even if they're traveling, maybe they're not necessarily making audience with people, this and that, but he always, throughout his whole life, since he's become a Rebbe, in the 1970s is when he became a Rebbe, when his father passed away, so it's, over 40 years ago. He has been dedicated to traveling around the world and influencing Jews to do mitzvahs. And I remember when he had to learn Torah and to try to be better Jews. And he teaches about faith and divine providence, and I'm amazed for someone, who lives in Williamsburg, is such a cloistered type of community, the amount of information and understanding that he has about the world. It's quite a remarkable thing, even though he didn't always live in Williamsburg. He was born in Hungary, lived in England for many years. He went to yeshiva in the Holy Land when he was young. He came to America as a small child. He remembers how different, Judaism was in America in the 50s to what it is now. So, I guess he was probably a teenager, maybe in the 50s, and I'm not sure exactly what his age is. I know he says he remembers. He told us that he remembers hearing the bombs dropping during World War II, things like that in Hungary. There's memories that he has as a child in Hungary during the war. But so he asked me to translate these once a week. One of the teachings he has to translate to be for a wider audience than what's just what his other teachings. Quite often in his other teachings, he's teaching things that are really bringing out the secrets of what some of the secrets of the Hasidic masters that you wouldn't find in other places. He really writes incredible things and insights and so forth. I really enjoy his writing very much, and his style of writing. He's a very talented writer. And the way that the Rebbe expresses himself when he writes these that he intends to be translated, he's writing for the general world, for the general audience to read. Now, when it comes to this, so the questions that our friend here, X Morning Shadow X, is writing to us. So the first question is the difference between public schools and yeshivas. Is there any kind of website you could go to get this? I'm not sure. I'm just translating what he said. I'm not in any way, testifying to the accuracy of anything he's saying. What I was saying there is just simply translating, trying not to give any of my own commentary. However, it goes without saying that we know there's a tremendous amount of bullying and violence in public schools, and almost none in yeshivas. Little kids are taught already not to be violent, and they learn it, and they learn the lesson. Whereas in the public schools, it's not. Of course, they're also taught not to be violent, but that doesn't get into their psyche for certain people, not for everybody. Obviously, most kids are not acting out violently, but those who are, they don't tend to see the consequences of what they've done, and so they get into trouble. But then it doesn't stop them from doing it. They never learn the lesson. And it's a big problem. Everybody knows it's a big problem in the public schools, and it's getting worse. I mean, there was a story in the news. It was a woman who went to go complain to school that her daughter was being bullied. So the girl who was bullying the daughter got a whole bunch of her friends together and beat the woman up, who came to the school to complain about the bullying and the violence. And this stuff it doesn't happen in the private schools. Public schools are much more dangerous than prisons. And a lot of the problems that exist in the public schools exist in the prisons. I think they're worse in the public schools, being someone who works in a prison. And I think the big reason is that the prisons have chaplains and the public schools don't. If the public schools had chaplains, I don't think we'd have a lot of the problems in the public schools. It was never traditional to have chaplains in public schools. It was always traditional to have in prisons and in whatever. But there's a story of the preacher from India, Ravi Zacharias. He said that he visited the Angola prison. I believe that's in Louisiana, one of the toughest prisons in America. And the one inmate who I believe maybe was on death row or was serving a life sentence or something. He showed Ravi Zacharias his Bible and how much he had gone over it, and he said, if this Bible was in my school when I was a kid, I wouldn't need it here in this prison. I wouldn't be here right now. So, now, is that intentional? I mean, the Rebbe from the beginning was saying, which I maybe even disagree with. I think maybe he's being a little bit trying to be politically correct. I don't know if he really. I don't know what his feelings are about this, but he's saying that the people are saying that what they are trying to do is for the benefit of the children. Won't you please think about the children? That's what I kept thinking about. Won't somebody please think about the children? Right? Helen Lovejoy, right? And so whatever it is, he's just making the argument that it's, as much as they have good intentions, it's not, the children are not benefiting. So and the big example he gives is violence, and that's so then what the I think what the Rebbe is saying here, I think it might be kedai to make 3 different videos answering these 3 questions. But as far as just to answer that first question, maybe just make a separate video explaining the other 2 questions. So I don't know what website, and I don't know where he got this information from, but it's just common sense. I mean, there's a Twitter whatever they call it, handle at Leave Pub School. It's called Leave Public School, that chronicles every day the abuse, violence, sexual abuse, and other forms of corruption and danger, physical danger and violence that goes on in public school systems. So I have no qualms, even though I know a lot of people, they try to be politically correct when they say, they don't have a problem with public schooling, they just want their kids to go to yeshivas. They try to be politically correct saying that, and I think that's, in a certain sense, that is, as much as they're trying to be nice and trying to be polite and trying to be politically correct, in a certain way it comes off like almost supremacist, because it's we that's not for us, that's just for you. You people, you can go to the public schools, but we won't send our kids to public schools. My approach, and the same reason why I support encouraging people to convert to Judaism, which is what the Code of Jewish Law says, that when you see someone who's sincere, you're supposed to encourage them, and not this nonsense that we see that people push and push and push away. It's one thing to see what someone's intention is, but it's a whole other thing the way that the rabbis keep pushing away, that's not founded in halacha. Maybe that's how they interpret one medrash, but they go out of their way to be just whatever. I'm getting off topic, but my thing is like, it's if someone really wants to convert, I think we should encourage that. But even if someone doesn't want to convert to Judaism, Christianity and Islam, these are fine approaches to life that are far superior to secularism. As much as I believe that it's possible and beneficial for secularists to develop some sort of religious culture for themselves, where they have if they want to, they don't want the theology maybe, and I don't see how theology is really that important. It's interesting and it's important, but it's maybe not the most important things vis-a-vis society to a certain extent. So yes, if you're going to have these societies for ethical culture and things where they have pretty much the trappings of church, the culture of church, without the theology, that's something, but everybody's afraid of getting sued and this and that. It's a very complicated world we live in. In any event, the main thing that I wanted to bring out here. So, I believe, Catholic kids belong in Catholic schools, Protestant kids belong in Protestant schools, Muslim kids belong in Muslim schools. Not because we need to be separated, but because people need to be able to, especially small children, they need to be able to absorb their religion. And so if you have someone, a devout atheist, all right, so even I don't know if public schools even really answer for them. They should also open their own schools that teach ethics and morals, not just teach what little that they actually teach in the public schools. It's the public. I have no qualms about saying the public school system is broken and should be abandoned, and I'm very happy and hopeful about the Supreme Court case that will say that states should give vouchers for religious schools, give people opportunities to choose which schools they want to send their kids to, and not be constrained by finances, not be forced into what's essentially, the fear that they have is that it's a violation of the Establishment Clause. The idea of the Establishment Clause is that we're not supposed to have like the Church of England, right? So there's not supposed to be a Church of America, but rather all the churches are supposed to be equal and have the same opportunities as any other church. An equality doesn't mean equality of outcome, but equality of opportunity. And instead what we have is that there is essentially, because really atheism and secularism is a religious viewpoint. It's a religion. It might not be an organized religion, but it's a religious ideology. It's an ideology vis-a-vis religion. And so therefore, essentially, the preferential treatment that secular public schools have, where they have no religion, and they actually are anti-religious, these things are essentially an establishment of atheism as essentially being the official church of America. And that is a violation of the Establishment Clause. So we'll have to get back in the next video to discuss the next two questions, which are about this issue of evolution, the issue of the difference between animals and humans, which are very important issues. I actually discussed at work today, and we're gonna get into that. All right. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe. Comment. We'll see you later.